America has always lived by the myth of the self-made man, someone who started from nothing and became wealthy. But few stories fit this myth better than the story of the Walton family. Their name today is known to every American, even if they never think about it, because anyone who has ever stepped into a Walmart has, in one way or another, encountered the Walton Empire. This story begins with one man, Sam Walton. Born in 1918 in Oklahoma, he grew up in a family where money was always scarce. The Great Depression taught him to value every penny and to look for opportunities where others saw only difficulties. After graduating from university and serving in the Army, Sam decided to dedicate himself to retail. In 1945, he opened his first store in Arkansas. At first glance, nothing extraordinary, just a small dot on the map of America, one of hundreds of similar shops. But Sam had something others didn't, an idea. He believed that people deserved to buy goods at lower prices, and that the secret to success lay in selling large volumes with minimal profit margins. This philosophy turned retail upside down. Instead of competing with expensive department stores, Sam focused on ordinary people. He offered them low prices, a wide selection, and accessibility. Families came to his stores together, and very soon, the business began to thrive. In 1962, the first Walmart opened. From that moment, what would later be called a revolution in retail began. In just a few decades, Walmart grew into the largest supermarket chain in the world, and the Walton name became a symbol of immense wealth. But the secret of success was not only in prices. Sam introduced innovations, centralized warehouses, advanced logistics, computer systems for inventory tracking at a time when competitors still relied on guesswork. He did everything to cut costs and offer even lower prices to customers. By the 1980s, Walmart had become not just a store, but a national phenomenon. For millions of Americans, shopping at Walmart became a ritual. People bought everything there: groceries, clothes, electronics, furniture, medicine. Walmart became part of everyday life, part of culture. When Sam died in 1992, his fortune was estimated at tens of billions of dollars. But most importantly, he left behind a system that continued to operate. His children and grandchildren retained control of Walmart, and that is why today the Walton family is considered the richest dynasty in the United States. As of 2025, the family's combined fortune exceeds $250 billion. Each heir is a billionaire. But the most important thing is not the numbers, but the influence. Walmart determines the fate of thousands of suppliers, controls prices in the marketplace, impacts agriculture, transportation, and even employment policies. Of course, criticism has not been absent. Walmart is accused of destroying small businesses, paying low wages, standardizing towns, and turning them into faceless zones of shopping centers. But despite all of this, Walmart remains the place where millions of people go every single day. Sam's philosophy of giving more for less became the family creed. The Waltons rarely appear in public. They are not as flamboyant as other dynasties, but that is exactly where their strength lies. Their power is quiet but everywhere. They do not govern politics directly, but they govern the wallets of Americans. One could say that if America has a true retail monarchy, it is the Walton family. Their wealth is not only in assets and billions in bank accounts, but also in the fact that they decide how and where millions of people spend their money every day. That is why the Waltons are the first family on our list. They are the rulers of everyday America, the empire behind every shopping trip. If the Waltons rule America through people's wallets, the Kochs built their empire on another tool: ideas and power. This is a family that rarely appears in the headlines of glossy magazines, but whose influence on the country is felt in every major political campaign, in every law, in every decision that reshapes the American economy. The story of the Kochs begins with Fred Koch, an engineer and entrepreneur who, in the early 20th century, developed a new technology for refining oil. His innovations allowed oil companies to extract fuel more efficiently from raw materials, and this became the foundation of a future empire. But Fred Koch was not only an engineer, he was a visionary. He understood that wealth was built not only on technology, but also on control. Fred passed on to his sons not just a company, but a philosophy: to think big, to build a business that covers everything from raw materials to finished products. After his death, his children divided the inheritance, but the true architects of the empire became Charles and David Koch. They transformed the family business into Koch Industries, one of the largest private companies in the world. Today, this corporation operates in diverse sectors, from oil and gas refining to the production of fertilizers, paper, textiles, and even software. In scale, Koch Industries is comparable to the largest public corporations, but unlike them, it remains private. This means that the Kochs can manage it as they see fit, without the pressure of shareholders and public boards. But the true uniqueness of the Kochs lies not in business alone. What sets them apart is that they bet on politics. Charles and David realized that wealth could be transformed into long-term power if it was invested in ideas, universities, foundations, and political campaigns. The Koch family created a complex network of organizations that fund research, promote certain ideological views, and prepare new leaders. This is called the Koch Network, an invisible system of influence that encompasses think tanks, university programs, charitable foundations, and political committees. The Kochs invested billions of dollars in promoting free market ideas, limited government, and minimal taxation. Their foundations support dozens of institutions and organizations that shape public debate in the United States. When the nation discusses tax reform, climate policy, or energy strategies, the voices amplified by Koch money are heard loud and clear. At the same time, the family acts less openly than many would expect. The Kochs rarely step directly into politics themselves, but they create conditions in which politicians are forced to take their interests into account. They are called puppet masters, architects of invisible power, people who influence the course of the country from behind the scenes. Of course, all of this has sparked and continues to spark massive criticism. Opponents accuse the Kochs of using money to undermine democracy by promoting their own interests and those of corporations. But supporters argue that they are simply defending the freedom of the market and upholding the values on which the United States was built. As of 2025, the family's wealth is estimated at more than $100 billion, and yet a significant part of their power is not even reflected in those numbers. Their strength is not only in factories and refineries, it is in the institutions, foundations, and people they have nurtured and placed in key positions. Thus, if the Waltons rule through stores and shopping centers, the Kochs rule through ideas and power. They are like architects, drawing blueprints for the future and ensuring that the plan is carried out. And that is why the Koch family is second on our list. They are not on magazine covers, but their shadow looms over every major decision made in America. If the Waltons are the embodiment of modern commerce and the Kochs are masters of the hidden political game, then the Rockefellers were the ones who, back in the 19th century, created the very foundation of the American model of wealth and power. Their story is not only about money, but about building a system that endures for generations. John Davison Rockefeller was born in 1839 into a modest family, and his father was a trader and his mother a deeply religious woman. From childhood, John learned thrift, frugality, and discipline, but his true talent lay in seeing patterns where others saw chaos. When America entered the era of industrial boom and oil became the new source of energy, Rockefeller realized that this was his chance. In 1870, he founded Standard Oil, and in just a few decades, it grew into a giant that controlled more than 90% of the U.S. oil market. Never before and never since has one company had such dominance over one of the most important industries of the global economy, and his methods were ruthless. Rockefeller used dumping, secret agreements with railroad companies, massive mergers and acquisitions. Competitors called him a predator, and newspapers dubbed him the symbol of robber baron capitalism. But the result was undeniable. Standard Oil became the symbol of absolute control. However, the true genius of Rockefeller lies not only in his ability to make money, but also in his ability to preserve and multiply wealth. In 1911, the U.S. Supreme Court declared Standard Oil a monopoly and ordered it to be broken up into 34 companies. It seemed like the end. But in reality, it was the beginning of a new era. These fragments turned into corporations that still dominate the energy sector today. Exxon, Chevron, Mobil. The family's fortune did not shrink. It only grew. This became the model for future dynasties, turning crises into opportunities. But the Rockefellers went further. They understood that money without influence is just numbers. That is why they began investing in politics, education, and philanthropy. Their foundations funded universities, medical research, museums, and even entire cities. New York would not be what it is today without the Rockefellers. Rockefeller Center became not just a building, but a symbol of American modernism. Unlike the Waltons and the Kochs, who continued to actively manage their empires, the Rockefellers focused more on institutions. They created a system of foundations, universities, and research centers that operate independently of individual family members, but still carry their name and continue of their influence. Today, the Rockefeller fortune is no longer as concentrated as that of the Waltons or the Kochs, but their legacy is not just about money. It is about culture, architecture, healthcare, science. It is the very idea that wealth can be not only a source of power, but also a tool to change society. And if we look at the three dynasties together, we see the full picture of American power. The Waltons control daily life through commerce, the Kochs shape the political agenda through networks and foundations, and the Rockefellers created the eternal image of wealth transformed into cultural and institutional influence. America has always been a country where wealth means more than just luxury. It means power, the ability to shape the future and to leave a mark on history.